So this is your next assignment for College in the Schools English, Writing 1120. As the name implies up top, this is your paraphrase. This is an incredibly important assignment, and there's a reason why we do it early on, because the skill of paraphrasing is essential for when it comes time to do any type of research writing, because you can only quote so much, and you should only quote so much. We've discussed this before. There shouldn't be hundreds of quotes in some sort of a research paper. It should be limited to what is said best. So the next skill that will help you with that then is learning how to paraphrase. Paraphrase obviously then is a version of a summary, but they are different. A summary is when you take information and put it all back into your own words. A paraphrase is a mixture of your words and the author's. And this is something that you did last year when you did the argumentative, and some of you did it well, and some of you were questionable. It's important you learn how to do this, because this would be one of those instances where you attempt to paraphrase and you actually end up plagiarizing. And you don't mean to, but accidental plagiarism is plagiarism nonetheless. So learning how to paraphrase, learning how to pick the words and pick the sentence structure of your source's information and mix it in with your own in such a way that it isn't taking it too close to word for word is definitely a skill that you'll need to know both for this class and all of your future writing. So for this assignment, you're going to take an article and then you're going to write a paraphrase of it. It sounds simple enough in its essence, but again, it's a skill like everything else that you need to think about and practice. Here are the directions. It's the exact same directions that are on Google Classroom, but as always, I'll just go through the highlights. If you notice, there is a form and some aims. Basically, the aims are the goals. If you look closely at this, it does say a multi-paragraph paraphrase of an article of your choosing. Notice it's not just one large, massive paragraph. It says, briefly identify the context for the paraphrase passage. Please take a look at A. You're obviously going to have some sort of an introduction. This introduction then shouldn't just be dropping the name of your article and your author in there, which is the attribution statement, which we're going to talk about next. There should be a sentence or two where you somehow put into context the topic of what's going to be paraphrased, because by letting the reader know what the topic is, we also then get to know what the paraphrase will cover. B, it says an attribution statement. An attribution statement is a fancy way of saying you obviously should mention the article title, source, and author. And then I just put C there, the word process, just as a reminder. Now what we're looking to do here, and it says develop skills in critical reading of written prose. That means you're going to read through this. The fancy word is you're going to cull through your article and find the most pertinent information. Because when you do a paraphrase, you don't give back every bit of information that's in an article. A paraphrase means that you read it closely and you figure out which are the most important pieces of information, just like you would do for a research paper. Do you see why we're doing this assignment? You would read through closely and only take out what seems to be most important to understand the overall point of the article. It says conventions for citing an author and source in written text, and master the distinction between paraphrase and summary. So I'll say it again. Summary means you take it all and put it back into your words all together. Paraphrase means it's a mixture of yours and the author's. Does not need to be quotes within this. As a matter of fact, there should not be, because a paraphrase isn't quotes. So what you'll do is take this article and you'll read it closely and you'll decide what the main point of the article is. You'll share the article title, source, and author, and some background information in an introductory part. And then when we get to the next directions here, you'll see that you'll have paragraphs where you basically paraphrase the main points that the author has clearly and in detail. So these are your directions that are a bit more specific. You can read through them, and they are basically re-explaining what I've talked about before. But this is what I want to highlight, and you need to pay close attention to. And obviously, writing isn't as mathematical as some of you might like. But a good rule of thumb is that 70% is your word choice and 30% is the author's, which means that you're only taking bits and pieces of their actual word choice and specifically their sentence structure. This is what happens with paraphrase. I'll read it and I'll be like, wow, that sentence or a series of sentences or a paragraph is so well put together and written in such a way it doesn't even sound like so-and-so's writing. It's because you've also taken the sentence structure of the author's. What you're doing is called assimilating. You are reading the information, you're processing it, and then you are turning it into your own. And yes, there will be some of the author's word choice in there, specifically statistics and numbers. Those can't be changed. And sometimes there's technical jargon that just can't be changed. But the rest should be your sentence structure, should be your paragraph structure. And of course, there'll be citations throughout. This again is exactly what you do when you write a larger research paper. Can you imagine if you become skilled at A, reading the article and finding the most important information right away, and then B, being able to put this into paraphrase effectively? A research paper from here on out should be even more simple for you than it has been in the past. Due dates, when this is all supposed to be taken care of, are on the syllabus. I'm not going to cover those. This is incredibly important that you take your time on this one and ask questions. And be sure to master this skill because it's going to save you both in this class, next semester's college and the schools, literature class, and future classes that you might take as you move on into the real university setting. If you have any questions, send me a message through Google Classroom, or you could stop in and ask, and this would be one to be sure that you ask questions about.